Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Kinzer.
And I am Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our folks get their finances in shape, hoping that you build and create wealth and even lead it more into creating generational wealth for your kids and your kids' kids. So, dope, it's so great to be here again another day. This is our number 66 show in a row. We rolling, dude. I gotta say, that's a lot of shows, dope, and a lot of information, you all. So, we just want to remind everybody to please make sure you share this and you make sure that you go out on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and you can share it also. We try to get this information to as many people as we can because it's, we have no cut card. We're not trying to make money. We're not trying to market or sell anything. We just want you to get more information because what we do know that power, that knowledge is power. And one of the things that we've been finding out in surveys, they've been talking about how a lot of times, a lot of why people, the wealth gap, you hear them talking about equity inclusion, and the wealth gap is getting wider and wider between whites and African Americans. And a lot of reasons people were talking about the inequities, of racism, the inequalities. But another factor is education. A lot of it is just people don't know, dope. And that's why we're here. We hope that we can fill that void and provide some information to you. So look, remember this. Click on the heart button. That helps us get traction. Click on the thumbs up. And also, we want you to, if you have any comments, please place those comments in the box. That gives us traction too. But we also want to hear from you. We want to make this interactive. We just don't want to be talking at you. And if you have some comments or opinions on anything we said or statements, or you have some other topics you'd like for us to check out, please put them down in the comment box. So with that, dope, let's start with the top of our chart of our show. We always start with the stock market update.
Oh, rough week, my brother. Rough week.
Oh, man, like a dog on sandpaper. Rough.
We had a tough time this week. The market Dow was down 1,600 points in the past week. That's about a 5% drop. It all came about because the Fed reiterated the fact that they were going to keep raising interest rates in order to slow the economy. I think some of the folks had thought that things had gotten a little bit better and that the Fed might ease up. But I think it was last Thursday, they made it clear that they were going to keep raising interest rates, and the market acted accordingly, and it took a pretty nice hit. NASDAQ's down almost 7% or 854 points, and the tech-heavy stocks took about the same drop. Microsoft dropped 19 points, down 6-7% almost. Tesla dropped about 6.4%. Apple dropped 12 points, 7%. Pfizer didn't do too bad. It dropped only dropped a point. It's only a couple of percent. But all in all, things are going to continue to be shaky until inflation gets under control. And things are going in the right direction here. It looks like things are slowing down, especially on the gas front. That's the thing I see. And you got to wonder if some companies are just raising prices now because they can. Everybody is thinking inflation and are expecting price increases. So if I had a business, I would probably be raising prices at this point too, because that's what people are expecting right now. So hold on, and hopefully this too shall pass.
Right. So, dope. I want to talk to you about the cryptocurrency market, and you want to talk about taking a beating. Oh my God. So the overall cryptocurrency market last week was at $1,090,000,000,000. This week, though, is at $1,220,000,000,000. And that's a major, major, major drop, man. A lot of people, I guess, I don't know if they scared and they're taking their profits and cashing out, or they just scared and trying to cut their losses. It's hard to tell. Last week, the Bitcoin was $21,632. Today, as of 7 p.m. today, it was $20,088, and that definitely was a drop. And the market cap for cryptocurrency, for the Bitcoin, was last week at 413 billion. Today it's down to 384 billion. So like I said, I don't know if people are just taking their profits who got in early, like the 2010s and 11s, even 17, or people are just trying to cut their losses. Same thing with Shiba Inu, man. Shiba Inu is kind of holding steady, but as far as the market cap, it went from 8.1 billion to 7.2 billion. And the same thing with the Dogecoin. It went from 9.2 billion down to 8.2 billion. That's a $1 billion drop. So I don't know what's going on in the crypto. I know what's going on in the cryptocurrency world. It's taking a beating too, though.
Yeah.
So but like we say, we're in it for the long haul and the long term. So hang in there, be strong, don't panic.
Okie doke. Hey, well, Bob, one follow up from last week's show where we talked about the Inflation Reduction Program is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, we got a couple of questions about the IRS part of it, and so I want to cover that very quickly. But there's $80 billion and $80 billion in additional funding for the IRS, and a lot of the conservatives took the opportunity to kind of spread some conspiracy theories that the IRS is going to hire all these people to come looking for you, and nobody's going to be safe. And
AR-15s coming in your house.
Right. But let's walk through what this is about. And who knows what will happen, but I can tell you what the intent is. And the money that's saved is going to help pay for the climate change and the healthcare funding that's coming from this act. But if you think about the IRS, they process about 260 million tax returns a year. And the system is so old, only the old people will appreciate this. But their computer system uses COBOL. That's the program that we used when we were in college, and that was 50 years ago. So that tells you how old their system is. And I don't know if you've ever tried to reach the IRS, but you can't. They're extremely underfunded. The budget has been cut. The IRS budget has been cut by 20% since the year 2010. And if you ever try to call, you can't reach anybody. It's hard to get a real person to get some help. And so this money is also going to go to update their system and to hire some people. Now, the plan is to crack down on tax cheats and people who don't pay their taxes. And it's not going to increase audits on anybody who makes less than $400,000. That's the plan, okay? And that's for people and for small businesses. So that's not the intent of the act. Is to go after the people who make a whole lot of money. And if you look at this chart here, this chart is showing you money that's not being collected or unpaid taxes by income level. So the top 1% has $163 billion of unpaid taxes. If you look at the top 5% of wage earners, that's $307 billion of opportunity taxes that could be collected. But if you look at the lowest 20%, there's only $6 billion. Now, people who do make a lot of money, they have a lot of ways to hide their taxes. And so it can be complicated going after those people because they have the money to pay people to figure out how they can avoid paying taxes. And so what another thing the conservatives are saying is that that's going to be too difficult to do. And in order to make the gains that they've talked about making, they're going to start targeting, again, the people who are easier to catch. The less money you make, typically it's easier to catch. And the lower your income, a lot of times you have W-2s, you have statements from the bank, you have statements from your brokerage company. So it's a lot harder to hide income. But when you have your own business or you have complicated transactions, and it's a little bit easier to hide things, play games. A lot of stock transactions, you cannot maybe not report them. You can play with. There's a lot more to play with the more money you make. And so the intent of the bill is to target people who make a lot of money and don't pay their fair share, people and businesses. The intent is not to target small businesses or individuals, especially those that make less than $400,000. So just wanted to make sure we covered that.
Dope. Today I sat in a meeting with a lady who was director of IT for the IRS for years. She just retired in 2019. And I sat with her today and she confirmed what you were saying. She said under Obama administration, they didn't get any money. And like you said, they've been getting cut back. She said their systems are so old, but they didn't have no money to upgrade the systems. And then she said, check this out, because I never understood this point that the conservatives were making. They're talking about shutting down the IRS. Now, that's the collection agency.
Right.
She said, Bob, out of all the money that need to be collected in America, we collect 95% of it. It's through the IRS. And you talking about cutting them back, not upgrading them. It's like, why would you cut out the collections agency? It's kind of interesting. But
and Bob, what they usually do is conservatives usually push to lower taxes. That's kind of what they do. And
right.
When they lower taxes, it has a bigger effect the more money you make, right?
Right.
And then typically don't lower it that much for people who don't make a lot of money. And another thing the Republicans have constantly, or the conservatives have constantly tried to cut the IRS budget. I mean, that's why it's down 20%.
Right.
And that really affects people who make a lot of money. Because again, if you don't make a lot of money, you typically have a W-2, you have a bank statement. It's very easy to catch you trying to steal money. And so it's interesting that that's one of their goals. And I don't think it's to hide tax cheats. I just think their overall belief is that taxes are too high and any money collected is too much. So,
right.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the intent of the $80 billion for the IRS.
Yeah, and dope, right quick. I just want to one more time, right quick, because I took that down kind of quick. Just show that chart one more time, right? That's $470 billion of unpaid taxes to the top 5%.
No, that's inclusive. So 307 includes the 163.
Oh.
Yeah, the 307 represents the top 5%. That's the total.
Oh, okay. I thought that was right.
No,
good point.
Yeah.
But it's $307
billion. Right. It's a lot of money.
A lot of money. Then look at, and then the lowest 20% of earners is $6 billion. That's a big number, though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy when you look at the numbers, and that's why we try to show the numbers you all, because when you look at it, you really see the fact. But though, let's talk about let's get into what we're going to talk about today, which we're going to talk about President Biden's student loan forgiveness program. Now, You may not think it'll affect you, but you might have kids or grandkids that this may affect, or dope. I saw a lady on TV who's 65 years old and she still had 80% debt left on her student loan. So this is not just for the millennials or the generation X's and Z's. There's still people out there hurting, man, paying student loans. Because like since 1980, the total cost of both four-year public and a four-year private college has nearly tripled, right? Even after accounting for inflation. Now, the federal support has not kept up, like Pell Grants, which is nearly 80% of the cost of the four-year public school degrees for students, working. And now it's only covered, it used to cover 80%. Now it only covers a third. And there has been many students from low to middle income families who had no choice but to borrow money to get a degree. And according to the Department of Education analysis, the typical undergraduate, though, get this, student with loans now graduates with 25,000 in debt. And that's just an average. And for most, people who are borrowers and they're vulnerable, the effects of this debt are even more crushing. Nearly 1/3 of borrowers have debt but no degree. Once again, this is a Department of Education statistic of undergraduates. Many of these students could not complete their degree because the cost of attending school is just too high. Though we saw in studies that majority of kids that dropped out of school, it wasn't because they couldn't handle it or a tragedy or a circumstance. It was they couldn't afford it. It was always financial. And about 16% of the borrowers default, including nearly a third of senior citizens. No, there's a third of senior citizens with student debt. That's what I was talking about. And, this can result in the government garnishing a borrower's wages and lowering your credit score. So the student debt burden also falls disproportionately, sadly, against a lot of Black consumers. 20 years after first enrolled in school, the typical Black borrower has started college in 1995-96 school year, still owe 90% of their original student loan debt. I just think that's crazy. But this student loan forgiveness program, dope. I think it's going to be good. And this is just some highlights, you all, from the President Biden student loan forgiveness. 10,000 of debt will be forgiven if you earn less than 125, or if you're single, or 250, up to 20,000 Pell Grants, and they extending the payment, the pausing the payments until December 31st, and we're going to get into more specifically, y'all, and talk about some of these benefits, some of these highlights that will be affecting you.
Okay.
So with that note,
let's jump into it. Okay, that provides targeted debt relief to address financial harms of the pandemic. So the Department of Education is going to provide up to $20,000 in debt cancellation to Pell Grant recipients with loans held by the Department of Education, up to $10,000 on debt cancellation to non-Pell Grant recipients. Borrowers are eligible to this relief if their income is below 125 or 250 if they're married. So no high-income individuals, those in the top 5%, will benefit from this action. And so to ensure a smooth transaction repayment, prevent unnecessary default, the pause on the federal student loan repayment has been extended to December 31st. So be ready to start paying again January of 2023.
And what they're trying to do, though, they're trying to make the student loan system more manageable for current and future borrowers, because the Department of Education is proposing a new income-driven repayment plan. Now, there's several different payment plans that they have, and an income-driven repayment plan is one of them. And it protects more low-income borrowers from making any payments and caps monthly payments for undergraduate loans at 5% of the borrower's discretionary income, half the rate that borrowers must pay now under most existing plans. This means that the average student loan payment will be lowered more than $1,000 for both current and future borrowers, though. That's why, I like, for once, they're trying to do something for the little guy. And they're trying to fix the loan repayment to lower monthly payments. For undergraduate loans, it will cut it in half, and borrowers will have to pay each month going from 10 to 5% of their income. This is a big game changer, though. And they're going to raise the amount of income that is considered non-discretionary income, and therefore it is protecting from repayment guarantee that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level, about the annual equivalent of $15 minimum wage for a single borrower, will have to make a monthly payment. That's big.
Another part of it, they're going to forgive loan balances after 10 years of payment.
Whoa.
It used to be 20 years. Okay. And that's only for borrowers with an original loan balance of $12,000 or less. And that should make nearly all community college borrowers to be debt-free within 10 years. It's also going to cover the borrower's unpaid monthly interest, so that unlike other existing programs, no borrower's loan balance will grow as long as they're making monthly payments, even when their payment is zero because their income is low. So you don't dig deeper, as Bob always says. If you're in a hole, don't get a shovel. Let's walk through an example of what we're talking about with this loan forgiveness. Typical construction worker who makes $38,000 a year would only have to pay $31 a month compared to $147 that he pays under this program now. And that's an annual savings of $1,400 that he can use for something more useful. Okay, and there's two other examples there, but they're all similar to this in that it lowers the amount of money you have to pay towards that payment. And so another point is borrowers who work in public service, they can earn credit toward debt forgiveness, okay, or debt relief. And that's also a positive under the public service loan forgiveness program. So a typical single public school teacher with an undergraduate degree making $40,000 would pay only $56 a month instead of $197. That's just another example. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big savings, though. It's a big savings. So another thing, though, that they plan on fixing the broken. No, excuse me, I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, fixing the broken public service loan forgiveness program, which is called the PSLF. And I know a lot of people to do that, because this is by proposing this rule that borrowers who have worked at a nonprofit or in the military or in the federal, state, or tribal or local government, they will receive appropriate credit toward loan forgiveness. And that's what the public service loan forgiveness program is for, those people who work in those jobs. And that credit can really help those individuals.
Okay, and another thing that the administration is going to try to do is protect students and taxpayers by reducing the cost of college. And this is one part of the program that's a little less exact as far as how they're going to do it. But the president did champion the largest increase in Pell Grants in over a decade. And Bob, did you show the chart that showed how much college cost is going up versus the Pell Grant?
Yeah, I'm going to show that right now. Excuse me.
Yeah, and as you can see, the cost of college is the red, and the Pell Grant is the yellow. And you can see how that gap And that gap is typically what people have to borrow, is the difference between those two. And the school cost has been increasing much faster than funding through Pell Grants. And so one part of this is he's been trying to increase the amount of Pell Grants to make colleges more affordable. Now, a lot of this is on the colleges to try to find a way to keep their costs low. And another thing the administration is trying to do is make community colleges free, which would also be a big help for a lot of people. And so we hope they're successful there.
Yeah. Another thing, though, excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, boy. If all the borrowers claim relief, they are entitled to these actions. The borrowers of color are also more likely than their peers. They will provide relief to up to 43 million borrowers, including counseling the full remaining balance for roughly 20 million borrowers. Target relief dollars to low to middle income borrowers. The Department of Education estimates that among borrowers who are no longer in school, nearly 90% though, of the relief dollars will go to those earning less, learning $75,000 or less. I want to pull up that chart. That's why I was trying to talk and operate this all at the same time. Just want y'all to see it so you can look at it. And this is just showing that the nearly 90%, that's 87% for people earning less than $75,000. They are the ones who are going to be getting the debt cancellation benefits. And no individual making more than $125,000 or a household making more than $250,000, the top 5% of incomes in the United States will receive relief. If you can see the middle bar there, people making $75,000 to $125,000, that's about 13%. And then people making more than $125,000, they're not going to get any relief. But for all these people saying it's not fair and the rich are getting their loans paid off, this chart is showing that 87% of people who are going to be getting the debt cancellation. And I think that's it speaks for itself. But but a lot of people are complaining, talking about it's not fair, though. So borrowers of all ages, the Department of Education estimates that among borrowers who are eligible for relief, 21% are 25 years and under, and 44% though are 26 to 39 years old. More than a third are borrowers age 40. God, that's 40 years old, and you're a third of the borrowers, including 5% of borrowers are senior citizens. That still kill me, though.
That does. That's amazing.
And it's going to advance racial equity by targeting relief to borrowers with the highest economic need. The administration's actions are likely to help narrow the racial wealth gap. But Black students are more likely to have to borrow for school and more likely have to take on larger loans. That's just how it's been in the past, though. So, we'll see how it is, because the Urban Institute is why the Urban Institute study found that debt forgiveness programs targeting those who receive Pell Grants while in college will advance racial equity.
Okay, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about taxes on this. So people are wondering if they'll have to pay taxes on this loan forgiveness. And if your student loans are forgiven, even through the recent announcement, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan or an income-driven repayment plan, you should not be required to pay federal taxes in 2023. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. And so it's tucked in this bill that you won't owe any additional federal tax on your forgiven student loans. Because typically, when you receive loan forgiveness, I don't know if you know this, if you've ever been given loan forgiveness, it's a taxable event. And it just basically costs you money. So if somebody forgives you, let's say you make $50,000 and you get a $20,000 loan forgiveness, in the past, your income, your taxable income would increase to 70,000, and you might push you in a higher tax bracket. And typically, since it was just loan forgiveness, you didn't have any money withheld on that. So you'd get a pretty healthy tax bill. And so luckily, as part of this act, this money is forgiven. You will not have to pay taxes on it, federal tax.
Right. So what about state taxes, right? Which is a little trickier. While most states do not impose taxes on forgiven student loan balances, some states do not conform to the provisions made, and people keep forgetting about the American Rescue Act that President Biden had in place, or will conform at a future date and could impose state taxes on this forgiven debt. And though there are 29 locations that either have no income tax, and therefore would not tax forgiven student loan debt, or automatically will conform with the federal law and will not tax this canceled debt. Now, there are 5 states that potentially will tax you on your forgiven loan, and that's Arkansas, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. So they already said that they're not going to. They could potentially tax the forgiven loans.
Yeah, right now it's in their tax code to tax it. They may decide not to, but if you live in those states, put some money away for that.
Yeah, it ain't no joke.
Okay, so some other tax considerations that you should think about with student loans. They haven't put out the 2023 tax thresholds yet, but there's still some other student loan tax breaks that you might be able to take. You might be eligible to get a deduction if you pay student loan interest in a given year and you meet modified adjusted gross income requirements. And typically, that's your MAGI is below 70,000 if you're single or 100,000 if you're married. And you can also get partial deductions if your modified adjusted gross income is between 70,000 and 85 if single, or 100 and 170 for those who are married. And with student loan repayments on pause and interest is 0, you might not have paid any, but you still should check your loan interest portal and see if you have any eligible tax payment. If eligible, this deduction will lower your taxable income, which could reduce how much you owe. So it's worth taking a look. It might even kick you in a lower tax bracket, which could also save you some money.
Now, there's a thing called the American Opportunity Tax Credit, and it's available for the first-time college students during their first 4 years of higher education. And it allows you to claim 100% of the first $2,000 of your qualifying education expenses, then 25% on the next $2,000 spent, for a total of up to $2,500. If you're a parent, you can claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit per eligible student in your household, as long as they are listed as a dependent. Now, to claim the full credit in 2021, your adjusted gross income must have been 80,000 or less, 160,000 or less for those married, filing jointly. If your adjusted income was between 80 and 90,000, 160,000 to 80,000 for those filing jointly. You might have qualified. You still may qualify for a partial credit. It is also a refundable credit, which means it lowers your income tax to less than 0. You might be able to get a refund on your taxes or increase your existing tax refund.
Okay, and another place you can save some money is if you have qualified educational expenses, is through the lifetime learning credit. It can help pay for any level of continuing education courses, that's undergrad, grad, or professional degrees. Transportation to college and living expenses aren't considered part of this. And unlike the act that Bob just talked about, there's no limit to how many times you can claim this credit. So you can get $2,000 every year, or 20% of the first $10,000 you spend on qualified education expenses. It's not refundable though, so which means if you use the tax credit to lower your tax bill, if you have one, but you won't get any of the credit back as a refund. In other words, if you you don't pay any taxes, you can't get the money back. So for 2021, you were eligible for this credit if you had qualifying expenses and your modified adjusted gross income was less than $59,000 or 118 if you were married. You could also reclaim a reduced credit if your MAGI was between 59 and 69, or if you're married between 118 and 138.
Right. So, some people ask the question, if your loans are in default, will next year's tax return be garnished? And normally, if you have a federal student loan in default, and that means 270 days, if you have made a payment, that's when your loan goes into default. I think that's 9 months. Your tax refunds can be taken to help cover the balance owed. Since federal student loans were paused during 2022 tax season, your federal tax refund was not eligible to be garnished by the government. That's good news. It's unclear, however, if this will remain in place for 2023. Though with the new payment pause set to expire at the end of December of 2022, this benefit may expire.
Okay, and keep an eye on your tax filing status, because that can affect your student loan payments. If you're paying student loans and you're on an income-driven repayment plan, your marital status can impact how much you pay. Because if you're married, obviously it's your joint income. It's you and your wife's, and your payments are based on that. And if you're married and filing separate, your payments are based only on your income. But if you do that, the tax rates are typically higher, and you don't get to take advantage of some of the tax breaks that are in the tax code for married couples. Okay, so pay attention to that. And it doesn't distinguish between whether you're listed in married filing separate or married filing jointly. So your payments are based on the income of both you and your spouse. And that's under the revised plan. And one thing we want to talk about briefly is, if you save money because of a tax forgiveness and you have extra money in your income, make sure you use it wisely. Don't blow it on something. Use it to pay off high interest loans or pay off some other debt. Invest it, but don't just use it wisely. That's the best we can tell you.
So, though, for some people, they may get a refund, and this is how that works. Let me give you an example. Say you owe $8,000 owed on your student loan, and you paid $3,000 from March 13th to March 20th. You paid $3,000 of it off, and so now your balance is down to $5,000. You can apply and see if you're eligible, and you can get refunded the $3,000, but your loan debt will go back up to $8,000. But then you can apply for the student loan forgiveness program, and you might fall under the $10,000 forgiveness, and that will pay off the $8,000. So this is a good deal, though, for a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people are suffering from this debt, and I one of the biggest thing I felt, though, because a lot of people said it was unfair, like the plumber and the UPS man who didn't go to college. But there are people that did go to college, and they went to college to better themselves. It wasn't like they like the other things out there where they went and bought homes and way more when the housing crisis brought way home than they could afford. These people were actually trying to better their life. So I'm all for it, man. This is a good deal.
There's all kinds of things in the tax code that benefits specific groups of people. And this is one that benefits the people who are saddled with student loans, who don't make a lot of money now. And it's just funny to hear. I mean, nobody complained when the massive tax cut came through and benefited the rich people tremendously. And believe me, I know that I benefited from it, and I was happy about it. But it felt unfair because people who are already pretty well-to-do got a huge tax break, and it really didn't trickle down to the lower levels like it should have.
And that tax cut cost us over $1 trillion that we still paying for, by the way, Dope.
Yeah.
That never was actually paid for. Dope, before we get into summary takeaways, just want to holler out to our folks, our frat brother 06, Charles Clutch McCargo is out there. He's been commenting in the comment box. He said it's a game changer for a lot of people. That is so right, Clutch. And Garnett, what's up, dear?
Hey, Garnett.
Noon, gents. And my wonderful sister Gloria said, great information. Thank you for sharing. And Modestine, she asked early on, I didn't respond to it because she had a question. I read that they still have to pay taxes on the loans, and I hope we answered that for you, Modestine, one of our regulars. Thank you for staying in there with us, Modestine. My wonderful sister Linda, thank you as always. Maria Dukas Joyce, one of the RTC Resolution Trust Corporations, which became the FDIC. For some of y'all didn't know, they were the people that handled the savings and loan crisis. My man Carl Chapman and Rodney Sr., Rodney Madison Sr., the noteexperience.com. Go out there and check out and learn about another investment opportunity in holding notes. And high school friend, graduate, alumni, Felicia Gregory, how you doing out there? Joe Finelli. Now, this is the tax guru, though. He was the asset man at FDIC, and he retired, and he's doing taxes, and he helped me with my international tax debacle. He gave me a lot of information. He said, Bob, there's no statutory limit on paying international taxes on when you make money overseas. I'm like, but anyway, I'm glad I got that straight. And is Joe Holston, is that Bo Holston, the greatest guard from Dunbar High School? Hey, Felicia was up. Thank you. And as always, Dope, let's go to the summary and takeaways just to refresh you all, because we know we gave out a lot of information, and we just want to recap some of the things that we talked about. Dope, check your eligibility. That's the first thing, you all, because you never know, you might qualify for this loan forgiveness program. Go out there. You can go on to whitehouse.gov. They have all the information, and I'm sure you can go out under, this is a great site to go under, studentaid.gov. The best site for student loans out there, the federal place. They will give you all the information that you need to check and see if you're eligible.
If you're considering changing jobs, look at a public service job and include the loan forgiveness as part of your salary and see if that makes it comparable to what you're looking at. Just another consideration. Take a look at it. It may save you some money, not so much in income, but in debt forgiveness.
And some of the public service loan forgiveness forgives your loan in 10 years if you work for the company. And if you're like me, I worked 30 years, so why not? Now, any savings due to this program should be used wisely. Now, remember what I'm saying, because, the conservatives are saying, yeah, they're going to be buying boats and new cars and all that stuff. No. Pay down your debt. Pay off the high interest loans that you got. Put some money in a Roth IRA. Invest this money, or just put it in a savings to build your emergency fund. But don't let this burn a hole in your pocket when you get this money and the savings.
Yeah, and college is a personal investment in yourself, but it's also a financial decision. And okay, now realize this is coming from an accountant, a guy who sees things in black and white. If you want to pay to go back to school, and it's not going to allow you to make money to pay off what it's costing you to go back to school, then I would say it's not worth it. Obviously, that's a personal choice. If you feel you get enrichment that's worth more than money, then obviously you go for it. But to me, it doesn't make sense to pay for educational expenses that wouldn't pay for yourself. On a personal note, I was like with my kids, I would not have paid for my kid to be a major that would not have allowed them to take care of themselves. That just made no sense to me. Not saying it's right, not saying that's how you should be. It's a personal choice on my part. But to me, you got to look at it in total. It's an investment in yourself, but it's also a financial decision that should pay for itself.
And we just also like to make this little tip because I'm sure you feel me with this when you talk about the personal investment. And we always tell the young people, really look at the schools that you're choosing, that it fits your income, it fits your budget, and also look at the degrees that where you come out that you will be marketable and employable, and be able to get jobs that you can pay your debt off and live a life, of a good lifestyle. So, I'm all for you following your passion. We're not saying that, but you also need to consider and think about the schools that you go to and these particular majors that you're going to really so it don't put you in a bind. That's all I want to make that statement.
And Bob, kind of going with that, it's the tougher majors usually pay the most money. Okay, engineering, chemists, biology people, those are the ones that make more money.
And now IT, I mean,
That's another tough
IT
major.
now,
Those are all tough majors, but just make wise decision in picking your school. And that's if you can get anything from what we talk about, is every decision you make is a financial decision. Just like going to school, then do what you can afford. Okay, what you want to do and what you can afford a lot of times are two different things. Do what you can afford.
Dote had a question here. A lot of older people, student loans went into default. How can they find out what they owe? You need to check with the loan servicer. Whenever you have questions or you want to make changes or you need information, you contact the loan servicer. Find out the name of the loan servicer, find out the number, and that's who you talk with directly to, find out, how much you owe or if there's some wrong reporting. Always contact the loan servicer. And so with that dope, and hey, I'm gonna say out there, hope you're still on. Stuart Wilson, all the way in Scotland, and he's got to be up late. What is it, about 2 in the morning? What's up, Stu? Love you, dude. He's a man who hired me. He's your general manager of Team So Right, Edinburgh, Scotland, and Falkirk, Scotland. Glad to see you, Stuart. Love you, dude. All right, dope. We're here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, excuse me. And we are the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. Make sure you go out there and share this with your folks. Don't hoard this information for yourself. Share. And remember, put comments in there for different subjects that may be on your mind that you want to get answers to. Please go out there and put it in the comment box. We check that out. We still get that information. Thank you all. Love you much.
One more thing. We are not financial advisors.
Yes, we are financial educators. That's the difference. You don't need a certification, and this is the key though. You don't have a fiduciary responsibility. And by the way, the flip side of this is if you go look for advice, make sure you get a financial advisor that has a fiduciary responsibility, because then he has to follow state and federal laws. So with that, we dropped a lot of information on you today. Tune in next week, 8 p.m. We love you all. Peace be with you. And we catch you on the other side.